dead little town. You know, the drugstores were probably already closed then too. They just went home.
Unless you had a boyfriend with a car.
Well, I didn't. I was usually the one that had the car.
Do you remember going to the Opera House for any functions?
Just movies.
Movies, okay.
Or remember, once in a while they'd have some kind of a show where they'd have entertainment, you know, little plays or something like that, but not much. It was a real thrill to get to go to something different besides a movie. Movies weren't so high those days you could afford to go see.
Do you remember the orphan train era? It would have been in the
Remember hearing
20s
about it,
and the
these
30s?
kids they took to California. But then, you know, we had that orphanage down here too, didn't we? You remember that one?
Which one's, what's the name of that?
Well, it's called an orphan's home. Down toward Randolph.
Oh, the Mariah doll?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they would take some of the children to the Opera House, and that's where people would choose one or two children to take them home, and so that was done at the Opera House, and it was done during the 20s and up into the late 30s. So you don't remember hearing about that during your time here?
We didn't hear about it so much these days, you know.
They had enough kids.
They had enough kids. That's true. And it was
We
usually
didn't
farmers.
need any more kids. But I remember when we moved to Omaha, and there was great big houses, you know. We moved there during the war. My husband had to go up there. And I asked my neighbor, you know, what the big houses were. And she said, well, there are places that where people leave their kids when they don't want their kids. But they were right in town, you know, right in town. And I thought, oh, that's the funniest thing. Have kids and don't want them.
Do you remember the different places where the post office was located?
It was over there long years ago, more on the corner, I believe, the old one. That's where I always remember when I was young, the post office. Then it was over there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
During the
it
war.
was over there.
It was over there.
When I was here.
And Bill worked, my brother Bill worked there, because Kenneth Fincham had to go into service. And Bill worked there too.
And I don't know what's in it now, though. The one over there.
What is
Beauty
it?
shop.
It's a beauty shop.
A beauty shop?
Used to be a sand and gravel,
Okay.
and now it's a beauty shop. And on the corner right west of there, there's a little building right across to the east of the Opera House. Was that a gas station maybe? It looks kind of like a station, but no. Okay.
I think, yeah, there was a
Was
station
there?
there. I think it was, And then that Skip Wells, didn't he live there for a while? From Irving.
If there's a station, it was before me.
Were there any buildings between the post office and the bank? That little vacant spot there? Was
I
there?
don't think there was anything
you
there,
were-
was there, Barbara? I don't ever remember. Yeah. Don't remember a thing. Then that used to be the old Citizen State, didn't it? Old Citizen State Bank.
On the corner.
And there used to be a department store in the middle there. Name of that.
Campbell's?
Huh?
Campbell's is the one I remember.
Yeah, but before that, when I was a kid. and they-
Granger.
Huh?
Granger. No, that's
Don't
not.
sound like.
That's-
But they had these that they pulled upstairs, you know, and put the change come down. You know, and then Charlie Henderson had a store there on the corner, grocery store. And what was in the middle? Well, the Gamble was. But that was later after I left here.
Well, I was thinking before Gamble's went in that it was a grocery store. I always wanted to say the red and white. And I
Well,
thought,
maybe
"Why,
it
I've
was,
got
Barb.
red and white on the brain."
Maybe it was, but we didn't trade there, so we didn't. You know.
Well, this is an earlier picture. It's called Granger's. But see, that's quite a bit earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But that must have been before.
I don't remember when that would have been. But that is the bank, and then all here, and then that looks like Arline, huh?
There's the Arlington Hotel. It was on the corner.
The Arlington Hotel.
Do you remember that?
No, only the two. We had the commercial over there,
Commercial where the cabin is right now.
and the Albion here. Yeah.
Do you remember where the telephone telephone office was located? Okay.
The only one I know is right over down the corner. Just right next door to the
Okay.
building with the brown front.
Oh, really?
Somebody thought it was up above the Citizen State Bank at one time.
Was I didn't know.
Yeah, that could have been
I only know that little one over there.
quite a few years earlier, yes.
I wanted Howard to come. You see, the boys remember more because they worked downtown in filling stations and paper routes and things. So they remember more of the town, than I would.
What was the name of the variety store before it was Glenn's?
Oh, what was it? I forgot it was Glenn.
It was something else before
But there was a
Glenn's.
variety store right on the corner over there, wasn't there? With good variety
It was
store.
something else and had apartments up above.
Yeah.
Which they still have apartments up there now.
Should have.
There's somebody lives up there. Do you happen to remember where there was tourist? They called them tourist cabins near the park on the highway. They were called tourist cabins.
How many was it?
It doesn't say. This is in 1968.
That would be down, straight on down when that as you come in town. You remember when that?
They were taking them down. Just don't remember the looks of it.
Well, were they right straight across the street south from where the little old log cabin was, where the liquor store is right now?
We've had comments both ways.
Yeah.
We've had some that east of the liquor store, the log cabin station, and then to the south there too.
Okay. Right across the street south, there was, I want to say there was like 4, and they were all put together in one. And my grandmother lived in one. I don't know.
You don't have any pictures of her there.
The only pictures I have of where my grandmother lived is when she lived right over here next to the medical center where Base McKee had those little affordable houses, and she lived in the one next to it's the medical
We'd
center
like
now.
to have a copy of that. Run across it
Give you-
sometime.
At least give you a picture of the front door.
Yeah.
Well, do you either one of you have any other pictures that show maybe something in the background of having taken a picture of your mom or your grandmother or whatever, and then in the background there might be something that would show businesses or anything? The old
Look at our pictures, see?
And like I said, I keep saying red and white on the grocery store, and the only reason that keeps coming back to my mind is I have a set of 6 plates, I believe it is. Okay, that my mother always said were mine because at the grand opening, she was the youngest mother. I was real tiny, and so she got a set of dishes for being the youngest mother. And all it was 6 plates, but
That's neat.
and to me it was called the red and white store.
Well, that is part of the history of the old Stanley building, or the
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they
Remember the
started out
sequence.
over here facing the square and then moved around to the Stanley building. The
Okay,
big
if they were
Stanley.
facing the square, were they in the old gables?
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's where in my mind, I've got
because that building is an L shape.
right. There's the bathrooms in this part. The grocery store people had to come through to go to the bathroom.
Did you work for Vic Stanley at some
No.
point in time?
Judy Mall's mother. She retired. Other than that, I don't remember too much. We always, my mom always traded more over bases. And so, I went over
Do
there.
you remember when Aunt Jemima came to visit Basil's? No. They had a promotional that Aunt Jemima was in the 50s is when it would have been. You would have been gone at that point, but she came for a promotional.
And when did you leave move up? You got married?
I left in 57 and then came back and
Oh yeah, that's right.
I
you
graduated in
went-
57 and I was gone then until back.
59 and part of 60.
We got married.
59 and half of 60.
Yeah. We got married in April 58, so then I came back in September, yeah, 58, and was here for a little over a year while he was over in Germany. We had our first child, and then left again in 60. Is that right? Is that what you said?
59 and 60.
Yeah, 60, okay.
So you remember playing softball too?
I was the only pitcher
You were the only pitcher.
after the other two quit. Once I started pitching, then I was the only pitcher. And my sister was the only pitcher.
So then, did you travel with this team?
The furthest we traveled was to Manhattan. Other than that, we went to Vermilion and Beatty. Went to Marysville a couple times. Irving, Frankfurt. I think that's about it. Waterville didn't have a team.
Did you have the same coach all the time?
No.
Oh,
Muddy Waters was our coach for a while.
oh, okay.
Wilma Waters' husband.
Okay.
I don't know what's Muddy's name.
Muddy.
And then this one here, I think, was maybe Everett Mather, maybe?
That's Everett Mathers.
But was he I assume that one of the coaches?
He and Jack Finch were coaches that year.
Don Holler said he coached for a year or a season.
Yeah, he probably did. And I was thinking there was somebody else in there that helped out for a year or so. But yeah, that's Jack Finch.
Why don't you let her see if those names are right? See if she agrees with those. So I wonder, it says Cassie Mather. Would
It
she
looks just like her.
It is
Yeah, it
Cassie.
does. Okay.
And then I was curious.
Because she would have been older than
Yeah.
you guys, the rest of you.
Well, yeah, but well, see, Wilma isn't in here in this picture, and Donna Crowder isn't either, and they were sisters, and they were in there when I first started. Wilma was the pitcher when I first started playing, and then I don't know if she just didn't want to pitch anymore or got hurt or what. But her and Manny were always married at that time, of course, and then he brought me in to pitch, and that's just where I stayed. Let's see, Lola and Lola. Okay, and this Mr. Fincham here is their father. Gene Wise, Betty Wise.
The picture you got,
Okay.
Gene somebody else.
She was Walsh at that time.
Okay.
She was married to Walsh at that time.
They were sisters, though.
They were sisters. Sandy Wishman was married. Yes. Yeah, Donnie is there. Okay.
So did your sister go on to play?
She went on, when she left here, she went to work in Topeka and played for the OC softball team down there, which took regionals nearly every year, didn't they? And would go on to nationals and stuff. I mean, he took them all over, I mean, to the different places to nationals. She was in Florida, she was in Niagara Falls, she was in Portland, Oregon. And anytime they would go, if they got beat out and didn't get any further, then he would tour them. I mean, they toured the coastlines, all that. She said it was great experience.
What position did she play for that team?
I want to say first base and catcher. It depended on who they needed at the time.
Did she play for him for quite a few years then?
I couldn't tell you any longer than that. She went to work in Topeka and earned enough money to put herself into college. And she started out at Sterling, and then from Sterling she went straight to KU, I believe.
She didn't do sports at Sterling or KU?
She was too busy studying, she said. Like at KU, she roomed right across the road from the football stadium, and she could hear them playing the football and stuff, but she never went to one game. She says, I was too busy studying. And she was only in the basketball arena once. Somebody came to town and she wanted to sing.
What was she studying? What was she?
She wanted, I believe, wanted to be a physical therapist, but she had to drop out. I believe it was for 6 months, a little bit more, because she had back surgery. And of course, when she had the back surgery, then that took that occupation away. So when she came out, then she moved to she graduated in '66 and moved to San Antonio and retired down there. Taught all those years. A worse job than physical therapy.
Can't remember who was the cadaver she was down there.
Oh, gee, I can't
One of the
remember.
famous,
It was somebody famous, yes.
one of the famous KU people down there.
Cadaver that she had to work on when they had to do their medical training.
Paul Dillon.
No,
He wasn't dead at that time.
she give fall gal and
Oh, massage and stuff like that.
massages and back treatments and stuff. And he is the one that got her into San Antonio. Told her there was an opening down there, and she went there and checked, and she went someplace else and checked. I can't remember where the other place was, but she just thought it was going to be too cold. She didn't want it, so she went back to San Antonio, and it was all because of fall gal.
Oh,
Nice.
that's kind of neat. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Your dad worked for WPA.
Years ago, he
Years
worked for
ago.
when Mom and Dad, when they was first married, he worked for the
What kind of
WPA.
projects did he work on? Do you know?
Was that the road crew?
Every road.
Road work.
My husband worked at two, but there was no jobs. So the government set up this program so men could work instead of getting welfare. Go out early.
But how far did they go? Didn't he work up around Home City or something?
Oh, yeah, and over west. They're off there, yeah. It's just a work program set up by FDR, so that men could work.
Well, and somebody thought at one time down at the entrance of the fairgrounds, there were like stone pillars down
Well,
there.
there's some here on the park.
Yeah, do you think these ones here on the park might be what the youth might have done? Or how long have those stone pillars been there? They had NYA, National Youth Administration, now that same.
They could have been.
Do you remember
They
when
were
those?
there from all the time. I remember them being there all that time, yeah.
That was way back 60-odd years ago when my kids were little.
That's
When
when you
he
had
was
to pay a
working.
quarter to get into the fair and couldn't afford that.
Or a nickel for an ice cream.
12 cents for the movie.
Oh,
12?
goodness. That's
Where did you get 12?
The region.
Oh, I paid 10. When I became 12, I had to pay a quarter. And there was just absolutely no way you could get away from it. Because, what was his name? The guy that had the theater?
Who had
Schaefer.
Schaefer? He kept every kid's name there, and he had the date that you were born, so there was no way you could fit. He knew exactly when your birthday hit, and you was going to a quarter.
Was this Bill Schaefer's dad?
I think so.
Oh. And
He gonna let you cheat, was he?
That's when Bean McLean ran the projectors upstairs. Joe Warders sold popcorn, made the popcorn. And I think it was Glenda Kelly that took tickets. I'm not sure. I thought it was Glenda. For a while anyway. Glenda and Joe were soda jerks, as you call them, over here at Easton's.
Why'd they call him soda jerks?
I don't know.
The handles.
Oh, jerk. Yeah.
Gotta use your imaginations.
Well, we had an interesting discovery, or kind of a discovery, I'd say, about the Scary Ann doll, and they had a factory here in Blue Rapids. And Pat has a Scary Ann doll, and this is what they look like.
Oh my God.